National Chat Room with me, Amina Abdurrahman Garba, together with our guest in person of Malam Aminu Sadiq, a former lecturer, Audible for College of Agriculture, Labata. But before we dive into the discussion, we need to know who is Malam Aminu. Short.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
My name is Muhammad Aminu Sadiq. I was born 59 December and have all along in my life been in the education sector. And I was a graduate of Bayero University, Kano. Down the lane, 1986. All my life I was a teacher and I have taught in very many colleges. First, College of Education, Gumel. And then when Ugawa was created, was deployed back to Kano State Polytechnic in the School of Legal Studies to later be transferred to Audible College of Agriculture, where I retired from work.
Thank you very much for the little biography, sir. So as we already know that we have different dimension of language. So by willing today, inshallah, we may try to discuss about two dimensions of language, which is morphology and also morphosyntax. Due to the time factor, we may try to take one after another to see them clearly. So, sir, what is morphology first?
Uh, I don't want to go into technicalities of morphology, but the main is morphology is the science of word creation, the creation of words in which, essentially English language is a monosyllabic language.
Yeah, exactly.
And as a result of morphological intervention,
Yeah.
it becomes a monosyllabic language
Yes.
because the morphemes that are usually affixed or affixations that are affixed to certain words in English language have made English a dynamic language,
Yeah.
thereby making the language more rich and more dynamic. Morphology is very, very invaluable segment of language, not only English language, but most languages of
In
the world,
general, okay, like language in general.
language in general.
Okay.
Now, in morphology, there are two forms. We have derivational and inflectional morphology, which an ordinary student of morphology should know.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, if there were no morphological or the science of morphology, which in Arabic is referred to as sarf, there wouldn't have been, most languages of the world would have, especially modern languages, would have become extinct.
Exactly, of course.
Now, morphology in this instance, particularly with relationship to English language, is very, very important because it helps in creating a versatility in the language so that word classes, as a result of morphology, are shifted. The functional value of one particular word class moves to another word class. For example, you may have a noun like cloud. Cloud being a noun, you have, as a result of morphological interference, you have the prefix en
Yeah.
prefixed against cloud and it becomes encloud,
Exactly.
which changes the noun form to a verb form.
Yeah.
In addition, you may have certain adjectival forms such as dark,
Yeah.
and when you add the suffix en to it, it becomes darkened
Definitely, exactly.
and it becomes a verb.
Yes, exactly.
And similarly, you may have certain adjectival noun forms or adjectival forms that, when added, when bound morphemes like ish, like full are added to it, they become adjectives. Like child, noun being childish, adjective.
Yeah.
Like probably care being noun becoming careful, adjective.
Yeah, of course.
So these are some of the things that morphology does to language,
Yeah.
particularly English language.
Exactly.
But if you have the plural form placed on the noun form, children, you have the children kick a ball. So where you have plus plural on the noun form, you have minus on the verb form.
Yeah, exactly.
And where you have a plus on the verb form, you have a minus on the plural form in the case of the noun, nominal form.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the, for example, first person singular simple present tense, you have the boy eats food.
Yeah.
That gives us the time frame of the action of the boy or the activity of the boy.
Yes, of course.
Now, if you have the boy is eating food, that S on eats is a bound morpheme.
Yeah, exactly. It's about morpheme.
Similarly, if you have the boy is eating food, progressive time, you have ing on it, which shows the continuity of an action in progress. Yes, exactly. Now, the point here I'm trying to make is if you have the child is eating food, that ing in front of it necessitates the intrusion of an auxiliary verb form is. Yes, exactly. Because if there were no ing in front of it, there wouldn't have been is. Exactly. There wouldn't have been is. So you can see that the relationship between the subject and the verb form is morphosyntactic. See, that relationship means that relationship between subjects and objects or the verb is called morphosyntax. It's morphosyntactic because it is the presence of the morpheme that brings about the time framing. Yeah, of course. That brings about the numerical value of the subject or object where applicable. Yeah, exactly. It also signals, for example, again, it signals possession. It is try to signal possession of one thing, a particular by another particular. Yeah, of course. For example, if you have the boy's bicycle is missing. Yeah. That S in front of boy with the apostrophe in between them presupposes possession. Yeah, exactly. So the S there is a bound motif. Yes. You cannot identify if you say, for example, the boy bicycle is missing. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Exactly. But that morphosyntactic relationship between the morpheme S, the apostrophe with S. Yes, with S, and the bicycle. Yeah, the bicycle. Shows there's a relationship between the subject and the object, the bicycle. So yeah, and the object. And the object. Yeah. Now there are two things at stake here. Okay, so let's go direct because now we heard some the meaning of morphology and also morphosyntax and also their relations. So what are the relationship between morphology and morphosyntax related to the language? So what's the relationship? The relationship is morphology dealing with the creation of words and the dynamic functionality of those particular word classes. Morphology deals with the particular classes by enhancing the value of the word. In other words, the relationship between morphemes and structure is tied to tense marking. That's number one. Tense marking. Tense marking. Tense marking, yes. Showing participality. That's number two. Number two. Yeah. It shows numerical value of a particular subject. Number three. Number four, it shows possession. Again. Okay. At the same time, relationship that is being created in terms of meaning is that in this case, in the first case, the boy turns away from them. Yeah. Is different from the boy returns to them. Okay, returns to them. Now that changes the whole meaning of the structure. That's why it is often said, without morphology, there wouldn't have been structure. Yeah. because you cannot identify when an action takes place,
Exactly, of course.
whether it is in the past
Or in the present.
and mind you, morphology in this morphosyntactic situation
Yeah.
has relevance in changing in distinguishing between regular and irregular verbs.
That's another way.
That is another one.
Yeah.
Because you have prefix,
Yeah.
infix,
And suffix.
and suffix.
Yeah.
Now, in regular verbs, a suffix is usually placed at the end of the root
Yeah.
or the stem.
Yeah.
Now, in past tense situation, you have ed,
Yeah. Must be easy.
presupposing an activity that has taken place in the past.
Yes.
You have ing in the case of an activity that is in progress.
Yes. That's, I think, almost like we discussed three things that we expected. So we are going to the last, or almost to the last of our segment, which is so how the students apply these two dimensions to make or to construct sentences or even words.
A teacher
Okay.
of language
Yeah.
should know morphology.
Yeah.
A teacher of language should know the relationship between morphology and syntax. If he doesn't, his students are incapable of constructing sentences. Because if the student is unable to distinguish between what is a plural form and a singular form, he cannot relate the action of the subject to the activity of the subject in terms of time framing.
Exactly.
So if you want your student to know exactly what how to construct a sentence, the most important, if not the important thing that you should teach your student is morphology. First of all, let him know what morphology is.
Yeah.
If he knows what morphology is, then you take him into structure, into syntax.
Yes.
When he goes into syntax, it is then that he knows how to dynamize his structure, the structure of the sentence. You know, most English sentences are of SVO nature.
Yeah, subject, verb, and
Very good.
object.
If you, when you, after teaching him morphology, then you show him the variables, the componential variables of the structure.
Oh, yeah.
He has to know that this is else,
Yes.
reflecting the fa'ili,
Exactly.
the doer of the action.
Yeah.
This is V, reflecting the activity of the doer.
Yeah. But
And this is the O, reflecting the recipient of action, of the doer.
yes,
Now, if he is able to identify that, then you can start showing him the elements of morphology in order to make him distinguish. In the case of S, is this S plural? Is this S singular?
Yes.
Is it animate?
Okay. And what's the if the S being a plural? What's the if the S being a
Is a
plural?
plural. What is going to happen to the verb?
Yes.
Is if and first of all, what is the time frame of the activity?
Yes. Yes.
Is it in the present?
Or in the past?
If it is in the present, what is required in me?
Yes.
Wherever ing comes, the student should know that there is an is,
Yes.
or was,
Yes.
or were, or whatever
Yes.
auxiliary verb
Yeah.
interposed between the subject and the main substantive verb.
Okay, this is an example.
Okay, so morphology to a student of language, particularly secondary school students, I think advisably we should remodel the system of teaching language. It shouldn't start, these things we are discussing should not start from the tertiary level.
Yeah.
They should start from the ground level, from the root level.
Yeah, which is
secondary school level. Yeah. Let the student know that EN,
due to the time, no problem.
And I'm very interested in this.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I'm hoping that there should be remodeling of the curricula of secondary school students. Oh, we are still operating the British system of education, which is very unfortunate. Yeah. Students should be made to know the language from the grassroots.
Yeah, that was supposed to be. So, thank you very much, sir.
You are welcome.
This is the end of today's program, which we discussed about some dimension of language in general, which is morphology and morphosyntax, and even to see their relation between which is between morphology and morphosyntax, and also to hear a piece of advice from our lecturer related to how the students apply these two dimensions into the sentence, and even to give us a piece of advice again related to the system of teaching a language. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And we hope our next invitation will be accepted
Yes,
for another program.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.